Eminence and Shadow, Episode 6, Pretenders. So we start off this episode with a man being murdered by a hooded figure who keeps repeating the phrase, "We are Shadow Garden," over and over and over again. Of course, the fact that this is a dude who's saying that they're Shadow Garden should pretty much tell you that it's not actually Shadow Garden, because Cid's the only male member in the group. Anyways, this is a series of killings that's been going on. All the killers have been hooded figures saying that they're Shadow Garden. So this is where we get the arc where we have the false Shadow Garden group. Then we cut to the next day where Cid is eating with his friends, and they basically ask him how things with Alexia, and he tells them that, they broke up. And they tell Cid that they know this area that sells a lot of good stuff, especially something called chocolate, which is something that's very unheard of in this world. So Cid's like, oh, I'm kind of interested to see what this world considers to be chocolate. Then we cut to Sherry, who I made a mistake in the last episode where I said that she's not even in the manga. She is in the manga, very briefly. Her and her father appear in it. But they have so little impact on the story that they might as well not exist. I know they're setting things up. Like right now, she is investigating the cults of Diabolos, especially the specific item that they found in all the destruction. She's trying to decipher it. Iris basically has hired her because she's like the smartest person in the kingdom. But yeah, as far as, again, I'm not caught up on the light novel, but when it comes to the manga, I'm all caught up. And the manga is way, 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 way ahead of where the anime is right now. And Sherry is pretty much non-existent. Like, she has not done anything really to change the story in any way. But maybe that will change soon. We'll see. I mean, right now she's investigating, so I'm assuming something's going to come up with it. But yeah, don't expect too much out of Sherry unless the anime goes in a different direction. But yeah, we cut back to Cid and his buddies, and they're waiting in line. And there's this long ass line. It's like an 80-minute wait time. And this woman comes up and she talks to Cid. She's like, we want you to do a survey for us. And he's like, okay. So Cid gets taken alone into the store. And the store is basically a department store. And he's looking around. It's like, wow, this is like a modern day department store. Like, you have coffee, you have chocolates, you have perfumes, you have clothing. Even the clothing style is very reminiscent of the clothes that I wore in my previous life. What's going on here? And eventually he gets taken into the special area on the top of the roof. And it turns out that this department store is run by Gamma. Gamma basically explains that all the stories that Cid told when he was raising her, she wrote them down, she memorized them, and she decided to try to reduplicate them into this world. So Cid's like, just stuff that I was, like, saying off the top of my head, like stuff that I remembered very briefly. She was able to turn that around into this big business. And Gamma, starts walking down the stairs, and she trips and falls right on her face and busts her nose. And yeah, we have a moment where Cid's like, as graceful and elegant as Gamma is, she's super clumsy. But yeah, Cid's like, how, are you guys turning a profit here? And she snaps her fingers, and some of her employees row out this cart, and it's $1 billion. I'm going to say dollars, but it's $1 billion of the Gil gold. I forgot what the money is in this world, but it's like $1 billion. And of course, Cid's like pissed off because he's like, this stuff that I've just been saying at random, you were able to turn into $1 billion corporation. Why couldn't I have done that? I could have been filthy rich by just doing this myself. He doesn't say this out loud, but this is like what he's thinking in his head. He's like, well, I will reward you for all your hard work. And he basically shoots out this light that shines in the sky. Everyone's like amazed by it. And it's just kind of hilarious because it's like they went through all this trouble to build this $1 billion gold company that has multiple branches, and they're doing mail orders so that they can even extend their services past their own territory. And their reward is a light show that does nothing. It's like a simple magic spell, but they're so like entranced by it. Especially Gamma, because it reminds her of the light that Cid shined on her when she was saved. So yeah, it's just kind of funny how they're like so entranced by this simple, stupid spell that does nothing, but they think like Cid's the greatest because of it. She introduces New and Yu, who happens to also be the newest member of the group. And she's like, do with her what you will, like whatever you want. And Cid's like, all right, if I need you, I'll call you. And he's like, oh, before I leave, do you have any chocolates? And she's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you. And he's like, the cheapest ones you have. And she's like, sure, I can give you some chocolates, and I will give you 100% discount. And Cid's like, 100% discount? That's practically free. It's like, yeah, that is free. And while they're like laughing at this, Cid's using like a little slime to go and grab a coin from the billion carts and slide it into his pants. So he's basically stealing from himself because this is his money. Even though Gamma's the one that made it, she made it for him and for Shadow Garden. So all Cid has to do is to say, hey, I want that money, and she will happily hand it over. So it's just funny that Cid's stealing basically from himself. Gamma also mentions about, before they leave, I should have brought this up earlier, Gamma also brings to the fact that there's a killer going around and is claiming to be Shadow Garden, but we know obviously that's not true. And Shadow Garden is doing his utmost to try to track down who is behind the murders. And Cid has a brief flashback to when Alexia stabbed him. And all the blood that came from that. And he's like, I think I know who the killer is. And so, yeah, Cid believes that Alexia is the murderer going around butchering people. But yeah, so we cut to that night where Cid and his homies are rushing back home. They're trying to get back to the school before curfew so they don't get in trouble, when Cid hears the sounds of fighting in the distance. And so he makes up an excuse to leave his friends. And the excuse that he uses is that he has to poop. And he's like, oh my God, I have to poop so bad. I can't hold it any longer. If I don't go right now, then I'm going to go in my pants as I'm running. And we have this overly dramatic scene that's just hilarious of Cid's like yelling out, go on without me, boys. I really got to poop. And I don't want to poop my pants. And his homies are like, we understand. We're totally going to be there for you, buddy. Like, even if you end up pooping your pants, we'll always be your friends. Even if you're going to poop outside, we're your homies to the end. We promise not to tell anyone. And they're crying as they run away from Cid to leave him to his fate. And as soon as they are out of sight, Cid's like, all right, well, let's go find that fight. And so we find Alexia, and Alexia is fighting Shadow Garden fakes. And they just keep repeating, we are Shadow Garden, we are Shadow Garden. It's a 3-on-1 fight, and one of them is able to get a slash in on Alexia. And she's wounded, cornered, and before they can kill her, Cid arrives, and he cuts down one of the guys, and he stands in front of Alexia, protecting her. And the other two rush off because they know, like, oh crap, this is actually the real Shadow Garden. This is the leader. This guy is super strong. We got to get the hell out of here. And then Alexia is like, who are you? What do you want? And he says, we're Shadow Garden. Stay out of our business. And then he disappears and he chases after the group. So he chases down the two guys. He kills one of them. And then there's one left. And that's when New shows up. And she's like, you leave this one to me, master. I will interrogate him and find out who they're working for and what their goals are. And says, like, I'll leave it to you. And he walks away. And then the guy attempts to attack New. And New cuts him down in one swing and reveals herself in her battle outfit. And the guy's still alive, so she's going to interrogate him. And then we cut to Alexia telling Iris, her sister, that the Shadow Garden, the killers were impersonating Shadow Gardens. They're not really Shadow Gardens. And she says that Shadow was fighting the cult of Diabolos. And so I think that's what their goal is. And Iris wants to learn more about the artifact that she gave Sherry. And Alexia asks, like, who do you think is our real enemy? Is it Shadow Garden or the cult of Diabolos? And Iris says that it's both, because she won't allow anyone to wreck her kingdom. And then we cut to the next day where Cid has given his buddies 2 of the chocolates. And his buddies, of course, had spread the rumor that Cid shit his pants. So they're not really homies. But yeah, they decide that they're going to give this chocolate to girls that they like. So Skell goes to give the chocolate to this upper class woman. And it turns out that she's engaged to someone, like this big muscular dude. And basically he catches Skell trying to give his betrothed chocolate. And yeah, Cid and Poe abandon him to his fate. And then we cut to the library where Poe says that he's not going to follow in Skell's footsteps because he's learned everything that he can about the girl that he likes. Like everything, even down to like what type of underwear she wears. And he rushes off to give her chocolates, and she starts screaming, you know, oh, it's my stalker. Get the hell away from me. And yeah, so Poe fails miserably as well. And Cid has the chocolates, but he's not interested in any girls. So he's like, well, I'll just give this to the first girl that I see, I guess. He's about to leave when Sherry sits down next to him, and she's going through books trying to study more about this artifact. And Cid stops and he kind of walks back and he looks at Sherry for a moment, and he just nonchalantly drops the chocolate. He's like, here, this is for you. Enjoy. And then he just walks away. And Sherry's just kind of like confused. She's like, what is this? Oh, it's that guy from yesterday. Why did he give me this? And so we cut to Sherry, and she's in her lab and she's studying the artifact, and she's also looking at the box of chocolates, and she's just kind of like, she's never seen these before. And her dad walks in. And her dad's like, oh, you got some chocolates? And she's like, chocolates? And he's like, yeah, it's this new, very expensive gift that's supposed to be delicious. A lot of the like upper class people seem to have been enjoying it. She's like, oh, some boy gave it to me. He's like, oh, a boy gave it to you. That must mean that he likes you. It must be love at first sight. And of course, Sherry's like, you know, assuming that that means Cid loves her. When in reality, Cid just gave it to her because she was the first girl that that he came across. Yeah, Sherry is trying to decipher this artifact, and that's pretty much the end of that. So there you go. There's Eminence in Shadow, episode 6. Not a lot of fighting, not a lot of action, but still a good episode, hilarious. The Cid making the pooping his pants excuse, and just the reaction from his 2 homies is hilarious. Gamma trying to act gracefully and then falling down the stairs immediately and busting up her face. The fact that she took just random things that Cid talked about when she was small and made $1 billion, dollar corporation out of it. And Cid's pissed off that, she's making money off of his ideas. The fact that Cid's stealing from himself. The fact that Cid's first reaction to the killers is that it must be Alexia because she's crazy. Skell and Poe getting shot down. Cid basically getting a new girl to fall in love with him without even realizing it. Just a lot of humor in this episode, and I loved it. It was awesome. But yeah, there you go. There's episode 6, Pretenders. Great episode. Hilarious. I loved it. Anyways, there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Later.